Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely, Eure, joined by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, we are back. I feel like we say that a lot, but we are officially back. The fall season is kicking off, which means that we are back on a regular schedule. So glad to see you. I feel like you're a little bit of a stranger these days.
Yeah, I'm an elephant in the room. Yes, I do have a mustache. If any of you follow me on social media, I've had that before. I had to get that out of the way early. It's been a constant battle with the mustache, the beard look. Last year I had a beard.
Battle.
I just, trying to figure out going into this new season, the new look. But
Big Ten,
elephant in the room. Let's get that out of the way now. Yeah, there you go.
I also just need to tell people that last night we went through our whole rundown of what we were going to talk about on the pod. We say goodbye. 5 minutes later, you call me and you're like, I just need to warn you, I have a mustache.
I have long hair. So I called Keely back. I said, I have a mustache and long hair. Don't be alarmed. That's why I'm bringing it up now, because we just talked about it before we started.
But you acted like it was I was going to be disgusted by your presence.
Okay, but when I walked in just now, you looked at me and said, I'm glad you brought up the mustache because it caught me off guard.
That was a little bit of sarcasm, but yes. Okay.
But anyways, besides that, I've been enjoying summer a little bit. I've been itching to get back in here. And when I say back in here, obviously. Yeah,
there's another elephant in the room. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, it looks like we're under construction in our studio, and that's because we are. This happened over the summer. It's gone slower than anticipated. It's kind of a collab with us and the football creatives. We're going to share the space going forward, which means that they're going to put some cool stuff in here and we get to piggyback off of that. So we're going to have a new set design going forward. It just did not happen as soon as maybe we wanted to. So that's why we're podcasting. We were like, you know what? Season has started. We need to get this going. So it might not look pretty, but eventually it will.
Well, this was too, correct me if I'm wrong, but every team or basically all athletics shared this room as media, right? So we would have times where we would be podcasting and
we'd have to stop in between podcasts.
Yeah, we've got an interview at 3:30.
Yeah.
Volleyball's in here at 4. We'd have to jump in and out, move all our stuff.
And this room is small.
It is, but
how much
I will
we
say
share
though, with how much they've removed everything and the renovation, it looks a lot bigger.
Big shout out to Juan and Rob in football. Yeah. They worked so hard over the summer to clean this place out. It had so much. The archives of football from 30 years ago was in here, and they did a ton of cleaning. So thank you to them, and I'm excited. They have some great plans. So
have you seen what the final photo, what it's supposed to look like? Is it wood? Is it?
We'll see.
You don't want to give it away?
I don't want to give it away.
Okay. Well, I heard you told me it was going to be pretty cool. So
what they have planned sounds cool. I think the problem too, and why it's taking longer, is that the university then gets involved and it's like, electrician wise, we can't do this because this hazard or whatever. So there's
all the stuff we know about,
red
all the
tape,
ins and outs of renovation.
How it goes. So we're getting there, but we're here. We're podcasting. I know we say this probably every summer. We didn't mean to go MIA for as long as we did, but things get in the way, unfortunately, life and other work things. So appreciate all of the patience. I was honestly really touched by people who either on YouTube or on Twitter were clamoring for us to come back. Sometimes, to be honest, I forget a little bit that people listen to us and want to listen to us. So it was nice to hear people clamoring for the podcast. Well, apologies that we were not here.
And the funny part about that, I'm the same way. I'll listen to a podcast here and there. I'm like, wait, we do. People sit down and listen to us do that. But
it's surreal.
Thank you guys so much for that too. That was really cool. Not only the tweets and the messages on YouTube and all of that, or people reaching out to me on DMs and Instagram and saying, where are you guys at? When are you coming back? It's good that we've had people that are frustrated that we're not here. That means that they want more.
Yes.
But also the other cool part about that was when you announced yesterday on Twitter that we are coming back, all the memes and the tweets and all of that of people excited.
Cool,
we got some great questions too. But summer-wise, just a lot of traveling for us.
We got questions about that, so we can talk about what we did.
Been big in the family life right now, so it's been a nice little break. But I've been itching to get back, and I'm ready for some USC football.
For sure. We have a lot to talk about. USC had its first week of its 2024 fall camp, so we'll get into the news year headlines to come out of the media availability and whatnot.
The meat and potatoes, if you will.
The meat and potatoes. Thank you, Cody. It's been a while.
Oh, also,
yes,
elephant in the room.
Sir.
We switched sides.
Oh, that too.
Okay.
Not by design.
Well, it was a request for me. I was like, can we switch sides? Oh, you were gonna say it wasn't by design?
Well, I mean,
were you covering for me? You can be honest.
No, I was just gonna say no. I was saying that you forced me to do this.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't. Okay, forced is a little strong. I requested if we could switch sides a little bit.
You passive aggressively. What do you think about this? And then 5 minutes goes by, and he's like, what if we do that? That's your way of just being like, I want to change.
You said if you want to, I just said, hey, new room, try something out, switch sides. this may be my good side. I don't know. We're trying
Please
it
vote.
out.
Is that Cody's good side?
Yeah, we'll switch around. But right now I've got a mustache. So just go easy on me.
Do you have a mustache?
Yeah,
I
I have a
wasn't
mustache.
sure about that.
If you didn't know, I have a mustache, by the way. But yeah,
People
we
are
did
like,
switch sides too, because I
"Wow,
know
we didn't
someone
miss you."
Someone was going to say that. They were going to be like, "Hey, wait a minute."
People are observant.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. So we got all the elephants out of the room, hopefully, I think. Now we got to talk about first week of camp.
Yeah.
Like I just said, there's some newsier items that happened while we were away as well. So we'll get into that. We also have, like we previewed, some questions. And I say some, we have a lot of questions, obviously. Yeah. We even have a whole section dedicated to LSU because we got so many LSU questions. Just a couple of weeks away, the first game of the season. So I'm excited to dive into that. So we have a lot to talk about, obviously. And I'm excited to get back into it. Just a couple reminders before we do. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you ever want to get your voice heard, be sure to look out for a tweet or a question box on either Twitter or Instagram. Our socials are VictoryPodUSC. And I know we always say it, but we are back. So definitely we will get into a rhythm and you can get your questions answered for sure as we go on from fall camp into the season. So excited to get back into our rhythm, Cody.
Yeah, and what we did last year, just to be transparent, if we talk about it in the topic or if we talk about it in the episode and you don't hear your question answered or asked because we already talked about it, just for time-wise,
we're trying to be efficient.
A little bit more efficient. Some of those episodes that would go, and I know a lot of you like listen to them. Yeah, the ones that go 2 hours or, me blabbering or me just going on and not wrapping it up, I guess.
We have a lot to say, clearly, by this 10-minute intro. Apologies.
Yeah, no kidding. But, we haven't done an episode in 3 months.
This is what happens.
4 months almost.
I say we've been doing something and then you create an excuse for us and then here we go with 2 hours of an episode.
Yeah, if you missed us, everything you want from Cody and Keely is right there in the intro.
Yes.
By the way, yes. Okay, we're going to try to be a lot more precise, but we try to get every question answered, and we do our best to make sure that everybody's voice is heard here on the Victory Pod.
Just the disclaimer is don't think it is a personal attack if we don't ask your question. We love all of you.
Or it's not a good question, or it's just something maybe we've answered already.
Yeah, it's honestly, we're just trying to be efficient.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of moving parts.
And as I say that, I'm slowing us down on time. Okay, here we go.
Anyway, let's actually dive into it. Newsy items. The first one, I'm going to talk about the most recent one, actually. As of Monday morning, the preseason AP poll was released. USC was ranked at number 23, which is also what they were ranked in the coaches poll. To me, Cody, the more notable thing to come out of that, and of course, preseason polls are what they are, so grain of salt, of course. But the noteworthy thing is that 4 of USC's opponents coming up are in that top 25, and 3 of them are in the top 10. So starting off with LSU, they were ranked number 13. Michigan is number 9. Penn State is number 8, and Notre Dame is number 7. So curious your thoughts there, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, 23, I'll start with us. 23, I think, is reasonable. I think there's a lot of question marks with this football team, new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball. So I think 23 is fine. I was borderline, are they going to leave us out of the top 25? Obviously, we made it by 2 spots, but I didn't know where the AP and the coaches poll was going to see us. I personally pay more attention to the coaches poll. Those are the staffs around the country that watch football that spend a lot more time, and not to take away from the media or the AP or the Associated Press, but the coaches poll to me is a little bit more meaningful. But like you said, it's a preseason poll for a reason. We haven't seen anybody play yet. We don't know who the new emerging stars are going to be. We don't know if teams are going to fall off more than we thought. There's just so many question marks when you're in the preseason. But the schedule is definitely going to be tough. I got a question about this on my Instagram, so I won't get too much into it now. But it's going to be a difficult stretch, especially early on.
Yeah.
You start with LSU, mutual site. Then you come home, you get Utah State real quick, and then we go straight. First conference game ever in the Big Ten is Michigan at the Big House on the road. And then, like you said, you got Penn State on there, Notre Dame. It's just going to be a tough schedule. And I'm excited, though, later in the season we don't really go or we don't leave the West Coast. So that's going to help us. But overall, ranking-wise, there's some tough opponents. But that's what you asked for, right? We wanted to go to the Big Ten. Yeah. We wanted to go to a stronger conference. We wanted to go play these tough opponents and show that we belong, and we're going to get to do that in year 1.
Well, that's a great segue into our next topic. USC officially entered the Big Ten Conference August 2nd. It was funny, though, because Big Ten Media Day was before that. So it was kind of like a precursor to what would happen. And for me, it made it way more real. I was like seeing all the logos, seeing how many teams are in the Big Ten. I was like, this is really real. So it was pretty cool, though. USC went all out because it's not just football. It's the entire athletic department now in a different conference. So that Friday was pretty newsy, just having a lot of, announcements and things like that. So it was cool to see the actual transition when a lot of schools transitioned during the new fiscal year, July 1st. So we were kind of waiting for that whole August 2nd to come up, and then it finally did. So USC officially in the Big Ten.
Thoughts on that, I want to ask you too, and we talked a little bit, but how was Big Ten Media Day compared? Because you've been to obviously Pac-12 and now Big Ten.
I've been to a lot of Pac-12 Media Days.
Yeah,
it's
big
crazy.
Difference or?
I felt like it was a little bit more low-key than...
The stage when they did the interviews to me, though, I feel like that was a lot bigger than...
The production value was great.
Okay.
Like,
I'm not trying to age myself, but that was like 10 years ago for me when I went to Media Day. So
Yeah. I feel like the production value was great. Obviously, the Big Ten Network was there and handling everything. It was interesting, though, because, the last one was in Vegas for Pac-12, and then some of the other ones have been in LA, the rest for Pac-12. And I felt like if you're in either two of those markets, like random outlets come to cover media days. Whereas like in Lucas Oil Stadium, it was just like if you're there because you are a beat reporter for that team versus like, hey, we're just showing up because we're in LA and like this is a newsy event to cover. So it almost felt a little more low key than past media days. But I also don't know if that's just like a one-off for Big Ten Media Day or I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it's your first
it was the
one.
first one, so I don't know what to compare it to.
Yeah, I mean, but again, overall, just like and I've said this before on recent podcasts, it's exciting, and you said it too. The other teams, I loved watching our athletics page post the volleyball with their logos on the Big Ten logos. At the Galen Center now they're putting the Big Ten logos on the basketball floor or volleyball court as well. But it's just so crazy to me. Rest in peace to the Pac-12. But crazy. I mean, it's just ever since I've been a USC fan or played here at USC, it's always been the Pac-12 or even the Pac-10 when I was growing up. But now, for the first time ever, we're going to the Big Ten. And
we're there. We're not going.
Yeah,
we're there.
Here. And I just said it a minute ago, but our for football, our welcome to the Big Ten is at Michigan a couple weeks from now in the Big House, 100,000 plus. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's going to open so many doors. And not to knock on the Pac-12, I've had my ups and downs with them, but I think just being in a conference like the Big Ten is going to open so many doors, not just for football, but other athletics as well. And yes, travel is going to be tough. Yes, we've had some knockbacks on that, and especially basketball, volleyball, baseball, when you're playing 2-3 times a week, it's going to be a little difficult. But overall, I think it's a great move for this program and this university. And hats off to Lincoln, to Jen Cohen, all the other coaches that have been involved with this transition. It's gone very smoothly, and I'm excited. It's here, and this is, in my opinion, probably the biggest, not for only all athletics, but for USC football, the biggest year in recent memory. We have to show up and show that we belong, and it's going to be a tough year one schedule in the conference, but I think we got the players and the coaching staff to do it.
One last little note about Big Ten Media Day. You hear about all these coaches, and like it was just a little bit like surreal to be like walk past James Franklin and be like, right. Penn State, like, you know what I mean? You get so used to the Pac-12 and seeing those coaches that it almost felt like, oh, right, this is like, we're not like guests here. This is like, we will be seeing you every year. Yeah. It's just kind of surreal in that sense.
It's going to be surreal for you, and it's the third time I said it, but when you go on the plane, because you travel all the games, walking into Michigan
I'm so excited.
First. Have you ever been to a game there?
No.
I haven't either. But
I'm so excited.
One of my best friends, his name's Jared Norris. He played at Utah. I think his second or third year they played at Michigan. They won that game, actually. But he called me afterwards and was like, dude, it was the most unreal stadium, amazing experience I've ever played in. Just the maize and yellows. I think they call it maize and yellow, right? I don't want to. Anyways, I'm not trying to start rivalry. I'm not trying to get people on us already. But it was said an unbelievable experience. So I'm hoping I'm going to get to do some of that this year. Maybe go to a couple away games.
That'd be awesome.
But yeah, that's going to be unbelievable.
No, it's funny you mentioned that because going to the new stadiums is something that I kind of forget in all the other transitions. So I'm going to be really excited for that.
And now it's going to be a yearly. We go back and forth, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of new traditions and a lot of new rivalries built. So I'm excited.
For sure. Now we mentioned August 2nd as a newsy day, partially because athletic director Jen Cohen released a State of Troy article or letter, I should say, that gave some updates about the state of Troy, as the letter says. But one of the noteworthy things I thought to come out of that was she mentioned the NIL support specifically through House of Victory, which is the collective that is partnered with the USC Athletic Department. And she said the NIL support through House of Victory has more than doubled in the last year, which is incredible. Obviously, this is the new era of college athletics, NIL support. And so the fact that Trojan family and Trojan donors have stepped up huge in that area is really cool to see, because obviously that moves the needle in this day and age of college athletics. I know that's something you've been passionate about, Cody. You've talked about that a lot, and you've been at House of Victory events. So I'm just curious your thoughts on this new announcement.
Yeah, that was something that I was really big on. And I just want to start by saying a huge shout out to Jen Cohen, to Lincoln Riley, all the other coaches on campus, everyone in the administration office for really making this a huge point of emphasis. And whether you agree with it or not, this is college football, right? And you have to have, and what I mean by agree with is paying players, transfer portal wise, guys that are starters that leave to go get better money or better NIL deals. You have to have a good NIL collective if you want to be competitive, not only on the field, but off the field as well in recruiting. And it's just amazing. More than doubled their funds. They exceeded expectations. They've done everything they set out to do and more. It is just awesome for USC football. And again, going to the Big Ten, all the things that are happening, everything's kind of coming together right now. So I'm excited for that. And a huge shout out too to all the Trojan fans that have donated, whether you were a Trojan or you weren't, or you just love USC football. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. House of Victory's done a great job of going out there and reaching out to Trojans, reaching out to donors, getting their support, getting their money. And it's such a cool thing to see where it was 2 years ago. I went to an event 2 years ago, and it was
House of Victory?
Yeah, House of Victory event. And it felt like it was a sense of urgency thing to where it was new territory. We didn't really know not how to get donations, but really how to go about this whole process. And it's just skyrocketed this past fiscal year, and it's awesome to see. But I also want to say, too, kind of going back, and I'm aging myself a little bit, but when I was a recruit, there wasn't NIL, there wasn't money to be made, but you don't have to just donate, right, to be a great fan, to help recruiting. You can go out there and reach out to players. I mean, it was so cool for me, and again, aging myself.
In a positive way, I will say that.
Yeah, in a positive. Well, there's times where...
No, Cody, do not tweet at recruits in a negative way.
Not recruits.
That is not sanctioned by the Victory Podcast.
Yeah, no. There were times I'm saying when I was playing that I would get negative tweets that kind of motivated me, but
yes, Mr. Blocker.
Yeah, and then I would get and then they would get blocked. But no, back to the positive side. It was so cool for me when I committed to USC, and again, it was all Facebook back then. But all the love and support from USC fans before I even stepped foot on campus, before I even signed my letter of intent, but I had verbally committed of just saying, "Hey, welcome to the family, welcome to the Trojan family." People sending me long messages saying, "Hey, when you're a Trojan for life." And at the time, as a 17-year-old kid, I really didn't understand it, but now. Growing up and coming back and being around the program, or even when I was here at USC, it really is that, right? We have one of the best fan bases in the entire country, one of the best networks in the entire country, not just as a player, but school-wise. Going to USC is for life, and it's amazing. So I say again, everyone who donated, thank you so much. If you can't donate, or if there's nothing else, show up on Saturdays. If you can, make a game. Just make it a place that recruits want to come to, and then obviously show them love on social media. Don't show them hate. Don't say anything. No negatives.
I just wanted to make sure we were clear about that.
But I was saying more on game days. I've got some of those. Hey, play better tweets is a nice way of saying it. So I understand there's two sides of being a fan. But yes, before they step foot on campus, let's not push them away. But there's other ways to be great as a fan in the recruiting process. But yeah, overall, unbelievable job by Jen Cohen and House of Victory and everybody that's involved in the NIL.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, one last point from me in newsier items, off-season wise. USC's new practice field. It was just unveiled right before camp started. It's a full-length turf field. It basically was where, if you were familiar with the old Dado Field, it was kind of where you would go to concessions and whatnot. So that's where it is right now. It's crazy because at first it felt really new and wow, this is super wide. And then I was looking at footage from last spring where that wall was up, and I was like, wow, this feels really claustrophobic. So I got used to it very quick, apparently, but it's exciting. It's kind of a symbol of what's to come for USC's facilities, specifically football facilities. The turf field that is adjacent to the grass field. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's going to only be used for fall camp, and then that will be under construction during the season. So the football new facility is underway. They're really getting the pace going. So
you're talking about the little 40-yard field.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that it will be demolished after fall camp.
Will that be part of the facilities?
Yes.
Extended? Okay.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, this goes hand in hand with what we just talked about. Recruiting, NIL, now recruiting, getting new facilities. Obviously, that's something that Lincoln wanted to happen here at USC, and they've done a great job of making that happen. And we talked yesterday on the phone. I was going to ask you, how did it look? But walking up after I parked on campus today, I walked by and they had one of the gates open. It is unbelievable.
Isn't it cool?
How wide that field is now. Yeah. It's so cool, too. They got the SC emblem in the middle of the turf. I didn't know it was 100 yards. I thought it was 70, 80.
No.
Just enough to get some team activities, but it's unbelievable. Now you have turf for when you play turf opponents. Now you have grass still, the original Howard Jones Field for when you play in the Coliseum or you play other grass fields. But, yeah, it's so cool to see. It's so cool for recruits to come in and see that as well. You have so much more space. I remember when I was here, they didn't have that turf field at first. They were just building that.
Wow.
I think when I was a freshman. So it was very crammed trying to fit first team, second team, scout team.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know how you did that.
Break up into position groups. It was very claustrophobic on that field. But yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's so cool to see not only what Lincoln has done for this program as far as where we are right now, going in the right direction, but also what he's done outside of just on the field stuff, right? Getting the new practice facility, talking about new football facilities, going to the Big Ten. He played a major role in all of this happening, and he knows how to get the right players here. He's built an amazing coaching staff around him, specifically on the defensive side of the ball this offseason. So it's just been so much fun. And what better time to be a USC Trojan fan right now? Again, new conference, just everything's coming together, and it's so cool to see all of it playing out. And especially for, a former player and alum, it's awesome. And I can't wait for the future of USC football. And it's just, in my opinion, going to continue to grow. So it's awesome. That
was what was so wild about August 2nd is that it was like camp starting. Look at this new field. Big Ten's happening. It felt like
one thing after another.
Everything that we've been talking about for years at this point came together on one specific day, and it was like, oh, we are here. It is moving. We're like almost in the future, it feels like. So it was cool to just kind of see it all convene on one day and make it really just like real. It was in your face for sure.
Well, and that's why if I sound passionate about it, I am, because we've talked about in episodes before, sometimes we've lost recruits that we maybe shouldn't have lost, people in our own backyard, and it's not because we aren't recruiting right. It's because of NIL. It's because other places are putting this amount of money into new facilities, into new practice fields. And we've talked about, hey, we've got to be able to do that to keep up in recruiting, to get the players here to win championships. And we're not saying we got to do that anymore. We've done it. And it's so cool. Like you said, it all kind of happened at once. And it's what you want to see from a fan base, from a donor, from someone who bleeds Cardinal and gold, of this team cares. This program, Jen Cohen has come in and hit the ground running. She knows what it takes to build a successful program, not only in football, but all of athletics. And we're seeing it happen right in front of our eyes. And it's cool to just be a part of that.
Yeah. And to your point, Riley had a quote that was like, you want your facilities to be a reflection of how much you care and a reflection 100%. Of your program. And he was like, it's so exciting for me to see this field because I know what's coming as far as the building and the facility. And I've seen the renderings. It looks super pretty, by the way.
Yeah.
So he was like, it's exciting to have that kind of sneak peek of what's going to come because you want that to be a reflection of your program. So,
and I'll just say a quick story before we go to the next topic is, and it's not to take away from the tradition here at USC, because it is. Back when I was recruited, it was a blue collar. Where we're at now used to be the old weight room, right? It was the old underground heritage where you work out. The field, again, was only one field, and it was such a tight fit, but it was that blue collar mindset. And I remember going to Alabama when I was getting recruited, and Nick Saban opens the door with his remote, opens a window with his remote, 2 sliding doors. I mean, you can tell schools that continue to make upgrades, and obviously that was 10 years ago, or even longer than that, but you don't lose that tradition like we've always had here. You're still hey, we're USC football. We're getting back to that tough style of defense too, and I'm excited to talk about that in a couple topics. But you don't lose a tradition, but you're also building something new to keep up with the rest of the country, and you can kind of implement both into your program and build just a powerhouse program. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. So it's amazing to see, and I'm excited for what else we're going to do.
It's funny you mentioned Alabama, and it made me think of a quote that Lincoln had on the 2nd as well. He said, it's not like we just have cornfields surrounding USC and we can just go plow something down and put something up. And so I think it's a credit to, there's a lot of people who went into, how do you even functionally make this work? Well, how do you make space out of nothing? So he was like, our cornfields over here cost a little bit more than other places. So it's really was a engineering feat that they were able to move everything around and move data to where it's going to be now. It's pretty cool to just see the investment of football.
I'll say I would have hated to be on that construction team, though, having to figure out how to move everything and make it happen.
Like the numbers coming out of your head.
And not only just Jen and Lincoln and all of them, but everyone that's a part of that and
engineers,
everyone doing it. Yeah, all the blue collar workers doing that too. It's just, thank you guys so much for all this. It's unbelievable, and it's going to give us an edge when it comes to recruiting and keeping players here as well when it comes around those transfer times. So I'm excited for that, and it's going to be really cool to see.
For sure. Alrighty, I want to talk about the storylines to come out of USC's first complete week of practice. But before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. If you notice at the top, I said we were driven by Audi, and that is true for a second season. They re-upped their sponsorship of this podcast, so very happy to have them on board for another season. What do you expect from an SUV? Versatility, a range of sizes to fit your life. Expectations matter, but exceeding them matters more. The Audi family of SUVs, progress you can feel. And a special thanks to Ralph's, who's also with us again this season. At Ralph's, everyone wins when it comes to saving big, because when you order online through the Ralph's app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in store. So no matter how you shop, you always save big at Ralph's. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Fight on.
Fight on. And real quick,
yes,
I think I've told you this before, but it was so funny because like we took the long break. We haven't been back for a while. So where I live, there's a Ralph's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And I'll go over there to kind of pick up quick groceries. It's just the closest place to us. And every time you're in there, they'll play music. But in between every single music break, they'll say one of the ads. And I'll be sitting in there grabbing some eggs or grabbing whatever. And it'll say Ralph's, fresh for everyone. And in my head, I just...
fight on.
Like a trained dog. Like I'm just like,
You're
fight
Pavlov.
on. Yeah, I can't help it. Yeah.
Well done.
Ralph's fresh for everyone. And I literally, people think I'm crazy probably. I'll sit there and go, fight on.
I wonder if that happens
and
to
then I'll
anyone
look around,
else.
make sure no one saw me. But I just can't help it.
Yeah.
I hear you say it. And then right after I always say fight on too.
You do.
So I'll tell my wife about it. She was cracking up.
You're
but
trained.
You're
very trained. Well, luckily they're here with us for another season. So
yeah, no, shout out seriously
going.
though. Audi, Ralph's, yeah, I mean, shout out. That's awesome. It's cool. And shout out to you. You know,
no, shout
2
out to
years
you.
No, you built this up from the ground and you've done a great job. And I was just fortunate enough to hop on.
Product.
Okay.
No.
We're,
Okay,
we're,
yes.
we're
People are
rambling
like,
on.
shut up, talk about football. Okay. Practice updates. First one, quarterback battle continues. This was to be expected. Riley did talk about this at the end of spring camp. What was interesting to me, Cody, is that it felt like an opportunity to give Jaden Maeva more time with the playbook. Obviously, he came in spring, so that's a hard ask to know everything as well as Miller does. Miller's been here. Miller Moss has been here for several years at this point. So curious how that's going to go. We've gotten no real updates on that, besides Riley just confirming that, yes, there is still a quarterback battle. I'm so curious your thoughts, Cody, because this is very close to home for you. You have been in a quarterback battle that has extended not only into fall camp, but into the fall season. So I'm just curious, one, your thoughts, but two, when do you expect a decision to be made?
Yeah, first point is that's why you come to USC, right, for QB competition. I'm not going to say that I'm surprised that it's gone on this long. Obviously, from the bowl game last year and how long he's been here, Miller Moss, in my opinion, is still the front runner.
Yeah.
But it tells me that Jaden's playing really well too. And we saw him in the spring game. He played phenomenal football throughout the spring. Obviously, there was a bit of a learning curve and him kind of getting up to speed. Miller played well, also. So it was great to see them go back and forth. But I am a huge fan of competition, maybe because I went through it a lot. Almost 3-4 years in a row here at USC, I had to continue to go through competition to earn that spot year in and year out, and it made me a better player, right? And then you get to the NFL, and that's all it is competition. They're just constantly trying to find someone to replace you, trying to find a better player, and you have to prove that you're the guy year in and year out. But again, I think it's only going to make Miller and Jaden better. It's going to push them to be their best every single day, and it's so exciting to watch. I will also say, watching the clip, and real quick, I was trying to find it, watching all the press conferences, Lincoln talking, I was waiting for a decision. I'm sure everybody is on the edge of their seat, and it just seems like there's really nothing that has been said or a whole lot that has really leaned one way or another. It's just,
with any position battle.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, besides guys that are guaranteed a spot or guys that are coming back or position, Jonah Monheim is going to be center, guys like that. But yeah, for the quarterback position and again, probably the most important position battle this offseason, you don't see a whole lot saying this guy's above the other. And the videotape that we have seen, which is posted by USC Athletics, it's big time throw after big time throw from both Miller and Jaden. And that's awesome to see when you have a QB competition to where it's a problem, you can't find the guy, right? That means that both of them are playing at a high level, and especially a guy like Lincoln Riley. He knows, and maybe he does a little bit in his head, like, hey, Miller's the guy, but I'm not going to tell him that because I'm going to keep getting him, or Jaden maybe is finding a way to get ahead of Miller, but I'm not going to say that because I'm going to let him keep going. So I think competition brings the best. Iron sharpens iron. It really is true. Now, when it comes to decision time, in my opinion, you have to make that decision. I say have to because I've been a part of a competition battle that's gone into week 3 of a season, which is very difficult to do, and it's frustrating because you want to be that guy and be the leader, but you're not quite QB1, so you can't take over that role. But in my opinion, I think the decision's going to be made that mock game week. And what I mean by mock game week is that's I think the 19th to the 24th is the last full week of practice before we get into LSU prep. And when you go into that last week, it's called mock game week. So we're potentially, and I don't know how early Lincoln will do it, but you're basically playing LSU, but it's the scout team, right? You're going to start. So if camp is 1s versus 1s, 2s versus 2s, like I said, iron sharpens iron. You go through that for a couple of weeks. When you get to that last week before you break camp and go into LSU prep, you treat it as a game. And when I was here with Sark, we would go to the hotel. We would literally treat it as if we were playing a game. And I think
at home
against Fresno State, my junior year was Sark, and then senior year it was against, I want to say Arkansas State was our first game. But we went to the hotel, stayed the night, woke up, went to the Coliseum. The scout team went in one locker room. They went to the visitors. The starters and the backups, who kind of were going to still be competing for a spot, went into the Coliseum locker room, like our home locker room. We'd come out. They would have the scout team talking trash, pushing us, like treating it
wow.
like a real game, crowd noise, everything. But I think you have to make a decision that week. If you want it to go until the 24th, which would be probably that mock game, allow them to both play with the starters and see where you're at and you know, how they're going to prepare or play in a game-like setting. Sure, but I just don't see the decision going after that week. And again, Lincoln Riley's the offensive coordinator guru, the quarterback guru. He knows what's best for this football team. But coming from someone who had to struggle a little bit with the QB competition going into season, yes, you can see how guys will do and how they'll perform. But I think it hurts more than it helps going into a two-quarterback system when season starts.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that would put us at next week, probably next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I thought it would be a little bit sooner. I thought it might have been, hey.
No, I don't think so, because if you're going to say as much as at the end of the spring game, hey, this is still going into competition, you need like time to figure that out.
No, that's true. But I'll say this. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if a decision was made in camp and then maybe if there was a competition that changed that. You get what I'm saying? Like maybe said, hey, Miller's our guy. Jaden's still going to compete. This is USC. We're going to keep doing that. And if the change needed to be made, sure. But that's just where I'm at, because as a quarterback, like I said, you want to establish yourself as that leader. And I'm sure they both are doing a good job of that. And I know Miller's very vocal. He's a great vocal leader. He was always the guy that was most pumped up for Caleb last year.
Yeah.
High-fiving the guys when they come off the field. Obviously, Jaden's a newer to the program, so he's still learning kind of how to, and he's a younger guy, how to be that leader. And he's probably learning a lot from Miller as well. But yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I wouldn't have been surprised if the decision made earlier, but I can't see it going any further than that mock game week, what would be the 19th to the 24th. So yeah, a couple weeks or a week and a half from now.
Yeah, so stay tuned, I guess.
And before we move on, the last thing I'll say is whoever does win that quarterback position, I'm a little jealous because, and I've said this before, I truly believe we have one of, if not the best young wide receiver core in the entire country. I mean, when you see some of those videos, and if you haven't yet, go to Instagram, go to USC Football account, go to USC Athletics, watch some of these catches that these guys are making. I mean, we have Jacoby Lane, who played so well in the bowl game last year. He's really put on some size this offseason as well and really kind of coming into his own as a dominant star player on this offense. You've got Deuce Robinson, who was our third leading receiver last year as a true freshman, who his confidence is going to continue to build. You got Zachariah Branch, obviously, who is all everything. He can do anything you want. Put him at kick return, punt return, put him at slot. And I love Zachariah at slot. I'd like to see him used a little bit more in the pass game this year, but put him at slot. Let him break in. Let him break out. Let him do so many different things that makes it almost impossible for defenders to cover with how quick and shifty he is. And then Mekhi Lemon, who's a little bit of a forgotten name last year, who was a very high-end 5-star, 4-star recruit.
We loved his tape.
Loved it. I thought he reminded me a lot of Zachariah, right? They both played so well, and they do such a great job. He had 2 huge catches, 2 in the bowl game, 1 tough. I think it was a go ball Miller threw him, and he took a hit and came down with it. And then you see him get up and be excited. So just such a great young receiving core. You have Xavier Jordan, who's a true freshman who probably haven't heard a lot of yet, but go back, watch the spring game. He had some big plays there. And then you got some veterans with Kyron Hudson and Kyle Ford, who's back from the bad side. But, you know, he's been doing good, so we'll give him a little bit of leeway. But, yeah, either way, whoever wins this position battle, I think our wide receiver room is very underrated. You don't hear about him a lot on these, college game day talks or these talk shows about preseason, but I think Jacoby and Deuce, Mekhi, Zachariah, and then some of the vets are going to surprise a lot of people this year and have some big-time games.
It reminds me of the USC of old where the old guard would graduate and then you're suddenly like, who are these talented young people? You know what I mean? Like it was just like
when I was here,
replenishing
over
Robert
and over
Woods.
Again. And you're like, all right, Robert Woods is gone. And then here comes Marquise Lee. And then Marquise Lee's gone. And then here comes Nelson Aguilar as well. Like and then Juju Smith-Schuster is here next. And then Adoree comes in as a Zachariah type. Like it's just one after another. And that's what's so cool about USC football is you get those big-time playmakers. So when you play quarterback here, it's a luxury, right? You're going to have playmakers no matter what. NIL, all that stuff aside, big-time athletes are still going to come to USC football, and it makes it so much easier as a quarterback to have those guys around you. But I'm just so excited for this receiving core. I really still believe, too, and I'm putting this on record. I've said it before. I think Jacoby Lane is going to have a huge breakout year. I see a lot of Dwayne Jarrett comparisons with Jacoby, the size, the strength, their mobility. their ball skills, the way they can go up and keep their body control, find back shoulder throws over the top. He made a great one-handed catch, too, I saw in one of the clips. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then you pair that with Deuce Robinson. And Deuce said on one of his interviews, I need to play like I'm 6'6". That's one of the things for me this year is I am 6'6". I am a big specimen on the outside. I need to play like that and have that dominant mindset. So I think the sky's the limit, again, for this offense where we had a lot of question marks with guys leaving the skill position.
From your perspective as someone who's obviously played the game, what does it mean if Deuce isn't playing his size?
It means that maybe he's not winning as many 50-50 battles as he would like, right? It's to where you, as a quarterback, when you have a guy that size and that strength, you want to be able to know that, even it's like this is a huge comparison, or this is the best way I can say it to the extreme, but Megatron, right? Calvin Johnson, one of the best all-time receivers that's ever played the game. Julio Jones, another guy that's very big and physical. And there were times when Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, and you see the memes that they say, screw it, Julio's down there somewhere. Or that type of style of play to where as a quarterback, if it's 50-50 or it may be 60-40 and the DB's winning, I'm still going to go throw that football because I know if he's not going to make the catch, he's still going to be dominant enough to knock the ball down. It's not going to get intercepted, right? And when you play that confident with that size that you have on the outside as a quarterback, I guarantee you the production or the balls that you're going to see coming your way are going to go way up, right? You may see 15% a game. When you start playing better and you start getting that trust with your quarterback, it's going to go to 30 to 45 to 50% of those throws to where it may be a throwaway, but hey, no, I'm going to take a shot and throw it up. That's kind of what it means to come into that play style of, and again, and those are huge comparisons, but when you can't teach size, right? You can't teach 6'6". You can't coach someone to do that. When you have that size, you can teach them to be dominant and to be physical. And I love that Deuce is he went back and self-scouted last year and said, I need to be that guy that's dominant that Miller or Jaden can throw the ball up to and know that if I don't get it, no one else will.
Now, an interesting wrinkle this season. Now, there's multiple new changes, but the one that has been noteworthy for the coaches and players is in-helmet communication. It's going to be between one coach on the sideline and one player on the field. So that's both offense and defense. So we've heard mainly from Miller Moss and head coach Lincoln Riley about it. I thought it was interesting hearing Riley talk about it because he was saying how best to use it. They thought at some point when they were originally trialing with it in spring, we might use it this way. And then he was like, now we're thinking of using it this way. And I'm being really vague because he was being really vague. He said it's kind of a cat and mouse game where we also don't want to give away the competitive advantage as to how we use it. So I'm vague for a reason. But I thought it was just interesting because Miller Moss was like, it doesn't substitute prep. He was like, it's a tool, but it's not something where you can't, you can kind of be a little lazy about your scouting and whatnot. So, Cody, I know you obviously have experience with this. I was curious your thoughts.
Yeah, for me, it was an adjustment, right? Obviously, so it was different. And when I was here in college, we didn't have it. So you had to go to the NFL, your rookie minicamp, and that was your first introduction to it. I forgot about it, honestly, now that we're bringing it up. I remember thinking all right, get to rookie minicamp, you do everything, you do your physical, you do all the meetings, you do all that. First day of practice, I put the helmet on, and my coach, it was Hugh Jackson or Pep Hamilton's like, hey, coach, can you hear me? And I kind of looked around like, what was that? But you forget about it. But yeah, it's different. I love what Miller said, though, about how he said it's not a substitution for prep, right? Because sometimes you can get a little bit too much information with a coach, or maybe you rely too much on, hey, let me talk in your head, or let me talk in the microphone. And for those of you who don't know, you get like a little orange speaker that goes behind your ear pad, and the coach can talk to you on game day, can talk to you up to 15 seconds on the play clock, right? So it can't be all the way through the whole play clock. The coach is in your ear talking to you, telling you all this stuff. At 15 seconds, it cuts off. So that's about the amount of time that you have. But again, it's weird at first. I love that we got to use it in the spring because that'll allow you to get adjusted to it. I love that we have it through fall camp. Obviously, they made that a rule now that everybody can do it. And like Lincoln said, it's going to be cat and mouse, right? You want to find different ways to use it. You want to find ways to make it an advantage, but you don't want to overload a quarterback with information too. I remember personally when I got into games, I took a lot of pride in my preparation, right? I took a lot of pride in knowing what defenses were going to do, knowing how to have an advantage on game days, how to beat your coverage, how to get into the right play. Sometimes if you go hurry up or you have enough time, because when a play ends, it's 40 seconds on a running clock for the play clock. So you have 25 seconds until it cuts off. If you line up quick enough, and especially at practice, it's not going to cut off, obviously, because the coaches have control of that. But if you line up quick enough, it can be a little bit of over communication to where you're like, all right, I see cover 4. I know where I'm going with this football. the coach may see something a little different, right? Or may see a little other advantage that they want to go to, and you're already predetermined where you're going to go. And when you conflict a little bit, it can be a little bit of information overload, but I don't have a problem with that. The best way, and Miller said again, the preparation is you want to get to the point to where you know what Lincoln's going to say, right? He doesn't have to say anything else in your head. He doesn't have to keep telling you what to do. You already know where you're an extension of the coach on the field to where, hey, it's quarters. This is what we've had. We spent enough time with preparation and working together throughout the week. I already know what he's going to tell me to get to, and I'm already one step ahead. So, yes, it can be an advantage, but there's also ways that it can maybe hurt you a little bit. But it's going to be fun to watch because it's not just us. It's going to be everybody learning how to use it on offense and defense as well.
Well, that's what I thought was interesting is I thought at this point Riley would be like, yeah, we know how we're using it. This is like X, Y, and Z. But he was like, we're still trying to figure out. We've talked to people who've had in-helmet communication, I'm assuming in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're still trying to figure out, do we use it to get the call in? Do we use it just to communicate adjustments? It's interesting that it's still to be determined, and I'm sure it will evolve as the season evolves as well.
Yeah, the best part for me was little pointers that we would get. So it would be like throughout the week, right? We'd have like a can motion, which means, hey, if the safety comes down on a run play, bring the receiver over. Like not part of the play, but little reminders that we would write down specifically for game plan stuff. So he could be like, get on the headset and be like, hey, Miller or Jaden, hey, remember, we got can motion on this if the safety comes down. All right, we're going to go gun, and then go into the play call. But I don't think we're going to use it in that way. If you had to ask me, again, I know nothing. I don't know how they're using it. I haven't been into practice, but I would expect a lot of ghost type plays or check with me type plays as they're called. And those are the plays I've talked about before where it's, hey, line up and gun trips right. Everyone lines up and gun trips right. Miller gets up there, Jaden, and they're saying, hot, fake a cadence. Then you're going to hear Lincoln say, hey, Miller, they're going to this, and this. Let's get to this play, right? And that's where I say Miller can also help himself in preparation of knowing what look the defense is in, so we can already be on the same page with Lincoln. But if I had to guess, that's how they're going to use it. But the most important thing, and I kind of touched on that, was don't let it slow you down, right? Our offense from the last couple of years when Coach Riley's been here is so dominant when we play fast and we up tempo. And I know it's the Big Ten and everyone, you got to slow down and it's going to be a little bit more physical. Sure, that's going to happen, but don't lose our identity, right? And I'm not worried about that with Lincoln Riley. He's the best play caller in the country, but don't let this new tool hurt you in any way, right?
Sure.
Don't slow it down. Don't overcomplicate things. But again, I have full trust in Lincoln, this coaching staff, and both Miller and Jaden to know how to use it the best way and make it an advantage instead of a disadvantage.
Defensively, do you have any insight into how that can be an advantage?
I think it's going to be the best for defense. I really do. Yeah, because defense, you're not, you huddle up, right? There's no such thing as hurry up defense. I mean, when the offense is going fast, you're going to have signals. But at the end of the day, you're still signaling to one player, and he relays the message, and that's normally the middle linebacker, right? So it's just going to be word now for Lynn. He's going to be able to talk to Cobb or Mascarenas Arnold and say, hey, give me, under smoke, cover 2. And they can just say, hey, under smoke, and then signal cover 2. We're done, right? There's not a lot to say. You don't have those long, wordy play calls like you have in the NFL on offense, right? Where it's gun, Z right, triple, all these different words where it can be a mouthful. For defense, it's, hey, give me the front, give me if there's a pressure, and give me the coverage behind, right? And I've never called defense, but it should be a little bit more smooth, in my opinion, on defense. And I don't think there's going to be too many adjustment periods. And Lynn has been in the NFL before, so
that's also an advantage.
He's had experience with
same with Coach Henderson as well.
Yeah, exactly. So they know kind of how that works the best way. That helps for Lincoln, and that's something I've loved about him and the staff this year is he's really taken advice from other coaches, and they've spoken about that, about how
there's so much experience
to run practice the best way, and how defensively to do things the right way, and how to make adjustments from what Lincoln's already done. He's not, been too prideful and said, hey, this is my way or the highway. He's taken information from this all-star coaching staff that he's got from all assets, and it's really kind of forming this staff and this team to be the best that they can be, and it's awesome to see. And I don't expect anything less with this in-helmet communication as well.
Now, what's interesting, we talked about position battles. I feel like the most openly discussed position battle, and I might be biased just because we heard from Coach Henson last week, but offensive line, that's something that we've been watching for, especially because so many veteran guys graduated last season. But the battle for right guard, it sounds like it's 4 people, but it's mainly 2 people. It was interesting kind of reading the tea leaves of what Coach Henson said last week, but it comes down to 4 people of Amos Talalele, Alani Noah, Gino Quinones, and Micah Benuelos. It sounds like Amos and Alani are kind of in that main rotation. Gino Quinones kind of got a shout out from Henson for being that veteran guy where mentally he obviously is in it, but he's still coming back from that surgery that he had last season. So that's something where it's kind of like, will he be full go? Not sure yet. And then I think Micah is also getting some reps there as well. But other than that, I feel like we kind of have a sense of what the rest of the starting positions will look like on offensive line. So I'm just curious your thoughts on the battle for right guard.
Yeah, so I went back to the starting O-line from the spring game, looked at my notes, and from that game, it was left tackle Elijah Page, left guard Emmanuel Pregnon, center was Jonah Monheim, which is new to this year, which is still, we'll talk more about that as the season comes along, but that's a crazy move. I love the move, but it's still just Jonah Monheim is doing everything. And I love that he got to go to media day too.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Obviously he's becoming a leader, and that's what you want from your center. And then right guard was Alani Noah, which is interesting because Alani Noah started at right guard to start the season last year as well as a home opener. So he won that battle in fall camp. And then right tackle is Mason Murphy. So outside of right guard, I really feel like those other 4 spots are set. Knock on wood, unless something happens. But I would expect those spots, and no one's really said anything about that.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't seem like there's battles outside of that.
And again, I'm not at practice, and even if we were, we're not going to tell who's rotating or who's playing what. But it really feels like that right guard position is wide open. And not only that, it's a good problem to have because when it comes to offensive line, it's kind of categorized as tackles or like exterior offensive line and interior offensive line. So although all 4 of these guys are competing with Alani, with Amos, with Micah, and Gino for that right guard spot, it doesn't mean that some of them may rotate and have to play at left guard as well if something happens to Emmanuel. If there's a game needed or someone misses a game, they can play or fill that interior role. So it's a good problem to have, but overall, it's a group of young, outside of Gino, you've got Micah, who's a redshirt freshman. Amos is a redshirt freshman. And Alani Noah was a true freshman playing last year, so he's a sophomore this year. You've got a really good core group of interior linemen that are competing for starting spots already. That's awesome to see. And then you have some great veterans on that O-line as well. And I know we've talked a lot about that was one of our biggest question marks in the spring was how's this starting 5 going to come about, or how's this unit going to be? It sounds like there's a lot of good problems and guys are really solidifying those spots. So it's not as much as a musical chairs as we thought maybe it would be. But yeah, that's going to be probably my biggest outside of quarterback position battle to watch as an offensive guy. Yeah. Because as a quarterback, you want to know who your starting 5 are and who's protecting me. But yeah, it's a good problem to have this at this point in camp.
It's interesting because Henson is pretty candid in his media availability. You can tell if he's not feeling great. You can sense it because he's pretty blunt about it. And he seemed pretty upbeat about where things are headed. He said that not only does he feel good about the interior depth, that he feels like they're on the right path where if they keep making the strides that they are so far in camp, that they'll be where they need to be. So that's a great sign considering, like you said, we didn't know where they stood in that sense, especially because it's just such young guys trying to fill those spots there. So curious about that, especially the growth of Alani Noah. That was something, as you mentioned, he got the start at last season, but Riley had mentioned throughout the season that Alani had dealt with some personal issues. It sounded like family issues, what Riley said. So there were things that off the field were taking more of his time than football. So it seemed like from what we've heard, he's back on track now and has really grown from his first year being kind of thrown into the fire on the field. So curious to see if we can see that come this season.
Yeah, and one more point to what you just said is, obviously Alani missed some time last year, but Elijah Page, another story that came out recently too. And since, I'm a quarterback guy, so I got to talk a little more about the offense line, give them some praise. But last year, that article that came out about him being sent down to scout team, and that is one of the best things I think that can happen for a player. Now, obviously, you're going to have your rare breeds. You're going to have your Zachariah Branches, your Deuce Robinson, guys that from day one can play right away. But not everybody is that, right? And you hear a lot about those true freshman starters. You don't really hear about the true freshmen that go down the scout team and that are backups until they make their debut and they play a little bit more. I love that story about Elijah Page because I related to that, right? So I firmly believe the reason that because I was back up my first year, second team. Then my second year, I was third team, right? And I got demoted behind Whittick to third string. Okay. So I would do scout team every day. When you're third string, normally 1s and 2s stay down there, and the starter will get a little break, so the backup will come in. Yeah. Especially when it's a single position like that, right? So you're only gonna have one quarterback at a time. Yeah. But I truly believe the reason the following year that I earned that starting spot was because every day down there at scout team, I went against Nickel Roby-Coleman. I went against TJ McDonald. I went against guys that are such good players that force Hayes Pillard, Dion Bailey, guys that force me to be better with love them to death, but you're going up against them with walk-ons, right? You don't have Marquise Lee against Nickel Roby-Coleman. You have, I'm not going to name drop anybody. There are some good walk-ons out there, so shout out to all my walk-ons, but it forced you to be better. It forced you to play higher competition. And I really believe some of the best players that you see, especially when they develop, come from the scout team.
Well, Riley said, he basically said we had to send him to battle. Like we had to like almost toughen him up a little bit. And it was interesting because he said, and we've seen this throughout, covering football, guys respond differently.
Yes.
He was like, it's a world of instant gratification now in football. And he was like, it can go either way. But Elijah responded to it, the quote unquote right way. He accepted the challenge and got better for it. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit there.
And as a quarterback, for that to be your left tackle, confidence through the roof. I mean, because Lincoln's right? You got to know as a head coach, as a quarterback, as a leader, how to work with different guys, right? Not everybody's going to respond the same way. Right?
Yeah.
You can cuss someone out and yell at them and get in their face, and we've talked about this before, they're going to respond.
Yeah.
Or you can cuss at them, yell at them, get in their face, and they're going to shut down and leave. Yep. Or it's okay to pull someone aside and take them away from the team and say, hey, hey, let's work on, like, you have to find the best way to make guys better, but I love that. I think that's always got to be the first route, is if they're not, producing the way that you want them to, or they're not developing the right way, send their butt to scout team. I went down there, let Coach O yell at your face, because Coach O was obviously, he would run the cards. He would hold the card up and say, everybody got it? Okay, here we go. And if you were like, Coach, let me see it, he would get your, he was going to let you know. But it put a little hair on your chest. It forced you to go from a freshman to grow up a little bit. But I love that Elijah went down there, did that, responded from that. And there's other guys. It's not saying that because some of these other guys played as freshmen, it's a knock on them. But that he's been battle tested, that he can take that. He can take hard coaching. He can go against starting defense. He was going up against our starters.
Yeah. When
you're down at scout team, he prevailed. He played amazing. And I don't think he gave up one pressure the entire bowl game.
Riley said it was the best left tackle performance all season.
Yeah. And then now he's coming into to this season with great confidence. And he has that to look back on, right? If he has a tough practice and he has a missed rep or something, he'll go back to those times when he was struggling in the trenches at scout team and use that for motivation. So I love the way that Riley and Henson are developing this offensive line, and just everybody on this team. They're really developing. They know how to make players better, and that's huge in recruiting as well, and keeping guys here. Well,
and last point on page 2, I feel like it says more about him in this day and age of college football, because it's so easy to be like, well, portal, bye. Yep. You know what I mean?
100%.
And again, it goes to that confidence if you're a quarterback that you have. Like, hey, not only is this guy willing to work, but he's done the work and he's still here and wants to be a Trojan. So
100%.
Interesting in that sense, this new era of college football. I want to talk about the defense. Not too much to come out of practice besides the fact that they are ahead of schedule, it seems like, with the playbook. Obviously, they did install in spring and then sent them on their way this summer to be like, get to know what we're doing in fall, because this is your time to study up. And it seems like from what we've heard from USC's defensive assistant coaches that they're pretty impressed with what the defenders were able to do just knowledge-wise with the playbook. So I talked to linebackers coach Matt Ince about it. I was like, what did that allow you to do? Because he said, like, I'm really impressed with what they were able to do. And I was like, what did that allow you to do? And he was like, this was, I think, practice number 5 at this point. He was like, we're already like 7 to 8 coverages in. He was like, we're ahead of schedule. So seems like they took their assignment seriously, USC's defenders.
Yeah, that. So first and foremost, and I know this is kind of what everyone's been waiting for us to talk about, the defense. And no surprise, that's the biggest topic to this offseason, really, on the field, is how's the defense going to perform this year?
Yeah.
I watched Coach Lynn's press conference. Again, I just reiterate, I love the way the player, he's a player's coach, the way that he talks about his guys, the way that he has passion for schemes, for fundamentals, for doing things the right way. I love that, because that's going to help. That's what you need for younger guys, right? You get to the NFL, you're already expected to know that. You might have a little bit of fundamental stuff and go back to that, but college level, when you go from high school to college, like, there's a big fundamental gap where you got to learn to do things the right way. I love the way that Lynn has kind of taken the time to do that. And he said it before, I think in his first press conference here, was, I don't care if I have to go as slow as possible, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to leave anybody behind, right? Obviously, I expect you to keep up with me and be able to learn and to adapt, and I don't want to keep telling you the same thing over and over, but I will go as slow as needed to make sure that we're all on the same page, because if you don't have continuity and trust that all 11 guys know their job on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to give up home run plays, right? You can get away on offense by giving up a sack and still having a great drive. If you have a missed assignment on defense, that's normally 6 points, or that's normally an explosive 50, 60, 70-yard gain. So I love that he's a player's coach. He's not far removed from his playing days. He knows the best way to coach his players, communicate to them, and allow them to learn to their best ability. But I've got to give a huge amount of credit to the veteran leadership on this team. The fact that they're that far ahead tells me that these players took player-ran practices where no coaches are out there, right? You script, you run everything on your own. That tells me that these veteran players took that extremely serious. And it also tells me their offseason, they weren't out partying and having the time of their life. They were focused on install. They were focused on football. It was all ball all the time, as we used to say, and they were really putting a point of emphasis of, this is my opportunity to come in and make a statement as a defense. And I've just got to give a shout out to the veterans on that side of the ball. It's just unbelievable to be able to come in and be ahead of schedule before you even had. It's not like we're running a defense we ran last year and you're ahead of schedule. You are installing an entire new scheme, a new coaching staff, everything, and you're already ahead of the curve before day one. I mean, I get goosebumps a little. It gets you excited, though, as a fan, to know how serious, Lynn and his staff and the players are taking this and them ready to go and hit the ground running when fall camp started.
To your point, I've been impressed with what I've seen from some of the newer guys, but veteran guys like the Arnold brothers, Easton and Keely, like even in the media window, I've heard them be super vocal and leaders on the field, even when coaches are busy doing other things. And I feel like sometimes if there's, for lack of a better phrase, like bad vibes on a team, like guys don't feel comfortable coaching other guys up and don't feel
especially being a new guy.
Exactly. Being a transfer coming in and feeling like, because sometimes it feels a little inauthentic to coach guys up. Like, who's this guy trying to be? But it felt like, everyone,
especially if you've been here and he's a guy that just came from another school.
Exactly, but it felt really natural to hear those guys kind of coach guys up as well, and Kamari Ramsey as well. He's a younger guy, if you will, but he's he's a veteran of this defense.
What was the quote you said Miller said? You told me.
Yeah, Miller at Big Ten Media Day talked about how Kamari's one of the smartest players he's ever played with.
Love that. Especially as a safety.
And think of the people he's played with. Like that's a lot of team members that are smart that he's played with. But he was saying that in PRPs, Kamari was figuring out their plays.
Good.
He was like noticing patterns.
That's
a smart guy. He was like football IQ off the charts. And I even talked to Coach Lynn about that as well. And he said it's such an advantage having Kamari here because he's the coach that is on the field.
Yeah.
And I even talked to Kamari about it at Big Ten Media Day. And he was talking about how it was nice during PRPs because we could go at our own pace and we knew what pace we wanted to go at, but also guys felt comfortable coming to me and asking questions that they might be, is this the dumb question for the coach? But with Kamari, I can ask you whatever, you know what I mean? So that environment also helped the learning process as well. So it's just a big, overall big props to all the guys who've stepped up leadership-wise on the defense.
And I love that Miller said that because Kamari is probably the most important player on the defense this year. Mainly because, like you said, he's an extension of Dan Lynn. Yep. He's one, and John Humphrey also at corner, but he's the leader of the defense as a safety. I know some people say linebacker, sure, because you're calling it, but you're a safety back there. You see what everybody else is doing. You're the last line of defense. It's like Kalen Bullock last year, right? You felt so comfortable when you have a player like that on the back end, but now you have a guy that knows what Lynn expects. He's an extension of the coach on the field, right? That's what you need, and he is so important to the offseason. It sounds like he's done his job and then some. For Miller to say he's already learning the offense as well. Like he knows what he's going to see from us. But that's awesome to see. But to your point, with the Arnold brothers being leaders, like you need that, right? There's three type of leaders. There's a vocal leader, a leader who doesn't, isn't vocal and he just, shows by example, and then someone who's both, right? Who can do both. But it doesn't matter what type of leader you are. You just have to make sure that you're bringing the best out of the guys around you, right? You want someone to where people always ask me, like, what's it better, a quiet leader or a guy who's super vocal? Like, to me, it doesn't matter. You just need to be the type of leader and have that aura around you that guys go, hey, I want to follow that guy. I want to be like that guy. I want to be, and that was for me when I was coming here. It was watching Liner, right? It was watching Mark Sanchez. It was when I got here, I want to follow Matt Barkley. Like he was doing like that. That's the type of leader you want for these younger guys. And if you're a younger guy that's got older guys following you that way and saying, hey, I'm following that guy, then you're doing something right. But yeah, just huge shout out to the veteran players on this team. I mean, it's I was looking through the defense, right? The guys that we have on that side of the football, and it is a big question mark. Now, the staff is in place, right? We have a championship caliber staff, in my opinion. We always talk about we need the puzzle pieces now, right? We need guys that are going to fill those roles. It's coming together. Like I was looking at who was on this defense, looking at the roster the last couple of days. We have an opportunity to make a complete 180. And people forget Lynn was at UCLA for only a year, right? It wasn't like he had built a resume to where guys have been in the system for a while. Like he did that his first year and he had a top 5, top 10 defense in the entire country in only one season. So what says he can't do it here, right? And I feel like we have the players to do that. We have not only veterans that are here that have been here, but we've also got transfer guys that come in that have made an immediate impact. And I'm excited. I think we're going to see a completely new look defense that the fans are going to be proud of this year. I know it may take a little bit of time and there's going to be some growing pains, but everything we've heard so far from fall camp is amazing. My biggest thing is just I want to see a defense that's going to tackle.
Yes.
Physical, downhill, Big Ten type of football, hit you in the mouth, help you up, go line up and do it again over and over, to where as an offense, you look back and go, man, I don't know how many more I've got. As a running back, you're kind of covering your ribs a little bit through the hole. As a quarterback, you're getting a little bit more tense. I don't want Bear, or I don't want Kobe, or I don't want Jameel coming off the edge anymore. I don't want to run the ball at Mascarenas. I don't want to run the ball at Eric Gentry, who's put on some weight. I don't want to throw it with because that's a real thing. As an offense, you go into a game highlighting guys, and when you have a lot of highlights, or red dot guys, as we call them, meaning guys that you have to work away from, and when you have a lot, it makes it a problem. And we have the capability of doing that, and we have the coaching staff that can get that done.
To your point, too, I asked Riley, what are you most excited about when it comes to this defense? And he said the attitude that they bring.
Love it.
And I felt like we saw that in spring. Like, they had so much energy. I mean, the turnovers that they were able to create, but they had just an attitude that, like, no, we're here. We're going to, like, it doesn't matter that this is our 15th practice of this scheme. Like, we have this confidence. And so I think that in itself will be a huge boost to this team, because I feel like it's funny, but we forget, like, this team was in games close last season.
Yeah.
And that was with a defense that, to Riley's own point, like, did not get it done. And so if you make those changes that we believe that they have this season, I feel like it can be a huge boost to this entire team. Obviously,
it's that time of year. It's that optimistic time of year, and for good reason. I'm not just saying this to say, hey, everything's, rainbows and candy, we're all happy, everything's great. I really, truly believe this, and I've spent a good amount of time doing film prep, going back and watching spring game, going back and watching clips from Miller in the bowl game, watching Jacoby and Deuce, and watching clips from last year. I feel very confident, and I don't want to – we have a lot of questions about expectations this year, so I won't say too much, but it's – as a USC fan right now, I really, really feel like the roster and the coaching staff we have is in a phenomenal place for us to go make a big impact this year.
Alrighty, well, I have one more topic to talk about before we do get into questions. So it's a topic that we kind of neglect a little bit unintentionally on this show. It's special teams.
Yeah, here we go.
we don't talk about it as much as we should. Yes, but Riley did confirm that there's open competition for place kicking. He said on Friday that they did not meet expectations last season when it came to place kicking. So he also seemed very proud of what they've done so far. He added the caveat, it's first week of camp. Understand that, but he was like, we're kicking percentage-wise the best we've ever kicked together. Me and the unofficial special teams coordinator, Coach Doherty. He said the best numbers we've had together. So curious your thoughts on there, Cody. Like I said, we don't talk about special teams as much as we probably should.
Yeah, it's I feel for my guy Dennis Lynch, who always had the swag pregame, where the overalls were the I think he had the rock outfit on before the turtleneck, but that's USC, right? And I think this was one of the first times I've ever went and watched, and you told me to go do it, a press conference about kicking competition. So I went and watched it. But yeah, Lincoln said percentage-wise, this is the best they've ever seen, and that means made kicks. That means that this is, again, competition brings the best out of people, whether it's on the football field, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at home, whatever it may be. Healthy competition brings the best out of people. And right now it's a 5-person battle, right? We have Michael Lance, we have Ryan Sayeri. Am I saying that right? Sayeri? He's
not
new.
Sure.
Okay,
yes,
sorry.
Need to double check that.
We'll get that right. We have Tyler Robles, we have Dennis Lynch, and we have Garth White. A couple new faces and three guys that have been here and 2 new faces. Michael Lance is a redshirt senior transfer from Georgia Southern, so someone who has experience. But overall, when it comes down to kicking, it's you got to feed the hot hand, right? It's not, hey, that guy kicked great last year. He kicked great in camp, but he's off. There's going to be times when you hit a slump as a kicker, right? There's going to be times when it's all mental, right? I lived with Andre Hidari for a while our freshman year. It is such a mental battle as a kicker because you're not in a rhythm of a game, right?
Yeah.
You don't go out there and play, and I could have a bad series, throw a pick, and then know, okay, well, I'm coming back next series regardless when we get back on the field, and I can make up for it. As a kicker, you may miss one kick and not have a chance to kick the rest of the game, or miss 2 kicks in the first quarter, not kick the second and third, and then have to go out there and kick a game-winning 45-yard field goal.
Goodness.
With 2, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to do the best you can to put these guys in difficult situations, in stressful, make them comfortable being uncomfortable in practice to the best of your ability to mimic a game so that on Saturdays. I mean, I would love to see the numbers. I don't have them in front of me, but how many games in college football last year or NFL came down to game-winning kicks or were lost because a kick was missed. So as much as you kind of joke about special teams, or you as a quarterback, you're like, I'm not worried about all that. I'm going to focus on what I can control, and that's offense line, receivers, running backs, all that. But overall, I think kicking gets overlooked, and I'm glad that Lincoln has opened up this competition, and it really feels like special teams has been a point of emphasis this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, another competition we have to watch this fall, so we'll update you when we know there. But, like I said, we have a lot of questions to get into, Cody. I hope you're in the mindset of rapid fire, because we have a lot.
I'm ready.
Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. Focus matters. Listen closely. The Audi Q8 e-tron's cabin is serenely quiet, so you can focus on other things like having tomorrow's technology today. The new fully electric Audi Q8 e-tron, how we get there matters. And Cody, when I mentioned Q8 e-tron, you were like hype about it.
Yeah, no, the Q8, they're sweet. We well here.
Wow.
Yeah, you can put it on Emily. By the way, shout out to our producer
Shout out.
today. Emily's here. Got a little Audi key, right, about my wife and Audi. But so I think we have a Q5.
Okay.
But the Q8, if you haven't seen it, go look it up. The Q8s are sweet. So they are.
This is real. Cody's not making this up.
No, that's true.
That was a real reaction.
Yeah, no, that was another. Yeah, Audi. We gave you
Impromptu.
another ad read, but yeah, the Q8s are sweet. Well, you mentioned the new ad reads to me, and I got a little excited.
You're like, is
about
it a Q8? And I was like, it actually is. So
that's what we're gonna get next.
We should just make that the ad read. Audi Q8.
Yeah.
They're sweet.
Yeah, send us one too, Audi, if you want to.
Please do.
Yeah, both.
Special thanks to Ralph's too as well. No matter how you shop, you always say Big Ralph's. Fresh for everyone. Fight on.
Fight on.
As promised. Many questions.
Okay.
First one is from Rigo, who said, what position group are you most worried about or have the most questions about?
I think worried about I'll say, worried questions about DB. I would say cornerback right now. I think because of it's a lot of new faces, right? You got a lot of returners. You've got some true freshmen stepping up. Williams stepping up. You've got DeCarlos Nicholson, who's a transfer guy. You got John Humphrey, who's a transfer guy. You got Jacoby coming back. Jalen Smith, who played the nickel spot a lot, moved around. I think that's the most question mark position for me, and I haven't heard a lot about it since spring. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, it's been a couple years now to where we've had a dominant shutdown corner. And I think since Mekhi Blackman, really, there hasn't been someone where we trust, year in and year out, or play in and play out, to play straight man-to-man and know that they're going to win majority of those battles. So for me, I think I'm going to keep my eyes are going to be really close when it gets closer to season on that cornerback position.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I would also say, adding on to that, we already talked about it, but offensive line. We've heard, and Henson made this point too. He was like, you have to thread the needle between repping guys for, in case of injuries and stuff like that. You want to make sure people are cross-trained, but you also want that chemistry. And they've said before that they don't feel like that chemistry was really honed in for the 2023 season. So he's trying to thread the needle there, and I'm curious if they can get it this year. So we shall see. Rama says, welcome back, Keely and Cody. Thank you very much. What are you most impressed about or worried about as far as fall camp so far? People keep saying worried. I feel the stress.
It is that time of year though, where
true.
There's a lot of
anxious.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of worries as well. There's a lot of is this going to get fixed from a year ago? I think the thing I'm most excited about this year is the quarterback competition. It feels crazy. Life after Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner, played great in his preseason debut. By the way, shout out to him. He's doing a lot of great things with the Bears right now. But it's a new era of college football, or of USC football on the offensive side. Right, it's been Caleb Williams' show the last 2 years. So for me, the thing I'm most optimistic about is how competitive this quarterback battle is. I think that's a good problem to have. Again, would not like to see it go into season, but whenever that time comes, whenever that one person emerges above the other and earns that starting job, I think it's going to be a great sign for this team moving forward. And then going to the other side, what I'm most worried about, I wouldn't say worried, but the biggest question mark still is defense, right? I just talked about how high I am on them and how great they can be, and the opportunities are there, right? And I'm very optimistic about it, but
it's still an unknown.
Again, it's still an unknown, and you don't know, and it's easy to be optimistic and get blinded by that positivity instead of saying, hey, there were some glaring issues from last year, and there are some players from last year that are on this team that you want to see, and hopefully they got those issues fixed, and talk to these guys around them and saying, hey, this is where we struggled at. We've got to make that adjustment. And that can't come from a coach. That has to come from a player on the field and take accountability. So for me, that'd probably be the biggest, I don't want to say worry, but question mark is how's this defense going to improve and how they're going to be able to stop the run in the Big Ten.
For sure. So Cal Manny said, which incoming player or players are you most excited to see this season?
I'm going to say offensively, I'm going to go with Woody Marks. the transfer from Mississippi State. He is a phenomenal running back. I did a film breakdown on him on one of our other episodes. So if you want to go back and watch that,
and pass catcher too.
Yeah, out of the back. He's the leading returning back in the entire country as a receiver out of the backfield.
So many caveats.
He's the leading returner.
You said right. Like
and why does it sound so weird when I say it?
Because there's so many little details.
He's the number one pass catching running back in the country.
Who is also returning.
Who's returning, yeah.
Yes.
Who's returning not from his old school, but now to USC. So he's not a returner for us, but okay.
Yeah, if you wanted to add an extra layer.
He's the best pass catching running back in the entire country. And he's also very electric out of the backfield with the ball in his hand. So I'm excited about him on offense. Defensively, just from what Miller said, and like I said, how important he is to this defense, Kamari Ramsey. Those are the two guys for me on both sides of the football that I'm most excited about this year.
Rush Storm said, a whole lot of so-called experts are piling on this summer. What's your prediction for our record this season? Thanks in advance. Love the show. Thank you, Rush.
All right. Thanks, Rush. I've got a lot of questions about this, not even on camera. I've done a lot of talking this off season. I've done some USC. I played golf with Matt Barkley at a alumni event.
Okay.
So this has been probably the number one question I've got is, how many games are we winning? What are realistic expectations? I've answered it before. I think we talked about it briefly, but now that we're getting closer to season, I'm still going to stick with double digits. I would love to see 10. I think 10 wins is very doable.
Okay.
It's going to be a very difficult doable, but I think it can happen. I think we can get it done, especially with the leadership that we have on this team and how they're really coming together. But this is one that will be easier to answer after game 1 or 2.
Of course it is.
Well, obviously, last year we went 6-0. And I could have said, "Hey, we're going 12-0. We feel great."
Yeah, no,
and
that's
then the
fair.
second stretch,
I just think this is so classic.
I'm just being
It'll
transparent.
be so much easier once I see how this team plays.
Okay, well,
yes.
Yeah. But if I'm throwing a number out here,
the sass has been away all summer. It
that's all right.
Comes out.
I needed it. I'm going 10-2. If I had to pick, 10-2 regular season, I think 10-2 also with the Big Ten. And since there's no
10-2
East and
Big
West,
10.
Oh gosh, and the puns are out, and the puns are out too.
I'm sorry.
But there's no East and West anymore. It's just the top teams, right?
Yeah.
The top two teams play in the conference. I think now being in the Big Ten with the powerhouse teams that are in there, if you can finish around 3 or 4, and now the playoffs are 12 teams, you can make an argument. So I think 10 wins may be enough. And obviously this is the joke we always make about we're talking playoffs already, but it's just. I'm going to go 10-2 right now. That's the record I'm sticking with. Again, I'm a USC fan, so I'm optimistic. But I'm not just saying that to feel good. I think 10-2 is absolutely doable. See,
I don't want to say weirdly enough because that sounds like I'm doubting, but I'm optimistic about Lynn and what he's able to do with his scheme. And I feel like there's going to be, the first year with Caleb Williams, teams didn't really know how to prepare for him. And it was kind of like, we're figuring it out as the season evolves.
100%.
I feel like that's what's going to happen with this defense.
Yeah.
Everyone go back to the UCLA preview last year. Cody said the word funky 90 million times because he was like, how do you prep for this defense? You get so many looks. And I feel like not only that, plus you're going to a new conference where you don't have game tape of Nebraska versus USC, or at least recently. 100%. The last one was you, Cody, playing against them. But, I think that will be an underrated boost this season.
Yeah, and I think, too, like you said, and what Keely means by that is, again, go watch old episodes. We do film breakdown on all that, and we talk about that game, and I guess that's a long time ago though, that game, but
it is
when we talked when Lynn first got hired. When I say funky, I mean all the different. I don't think we ever put that on film though, did we? We did the film breakdown of players, but I don't think we did his defensive film breakdown.
Not sure
if we have, and I still have those clips too. Write that, Emily, future reference. That'd be a lot of fun to do though before season starts.
Yeah,
but it's his biggest thing is versatility, right? How many different things can you do for me on the offense or on the defensive side of the ball? And someone asked him about Latu, right? They're saying, can you compare someone to him? And he said no, because how versatile he was. There's not a lot of players in the NFL like him, but that doesn't mean that we don't have players that are capable of doing what he did.
Yeah.
The way he uses his players, the way it'll be third down and you'll see a defensive end on a 4-point stance over the center with a linebacker. He moves guys so, and it's so hard as a quarterback, especially when man protection situations where you have to ID mics and the O-line has to know who they're working to. When you have DNs at 3 techs and 0 shades, you have linebackers walked up on the edge, a safety down. He does so many different things, and it's that old Baltimore Ravens defense that is just a nightmare to go against. But he does such a great job of finding out how to use his players to the best of his ability, and it makes it impossible. So I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be a big advantage for us this year that a lot of these Big Ten teams can only watch his tape against other teams. They don't have anything to go off of that they've been able to self-scout. Yeah, exactly.
We have a question from Daniel who said, who's the one often overlooked player from both offense and defense that you think will be making an impact this year, barring injury?
I'm going to say not overlooked, but he's, again, still my, I think, breakout player, Jacoby Lane. Yeah. And I'm not saying, obviously, he's not overlooked, but he hasn't really done anything yet. Hasn't had the opportunity to do anything yet. He was sitting behind some guys last year, but he is going to be, in my opinion, still, I think he's, and knock on wood, hopefully he stays healthy. I'm going to say Jacoby Lane on offense is going to be my breakout player. And I really believe on defense that, and I would love to see it, and I wouldn't say under the radar, but didn't perform to potential last year. I want to see Mason Cobb take that next step, right? We saw how good he can be at times last year. We saw how good he was at Oklahoma State the year before.
Yeah.
I think he had 90-something tackles or maybe over 100 tackles. He got away from that a little bit last year. I think this new defensive scheme with him and Mascarenas Arnold in the middle, and then you have Gentry and Davis and guys you can throw in there, I think this scheme is going to work really well to his play style. And I think he's going to be able to be that surefire tackler that thought we were getting from last year, that we saw flashes of last year, but wasn't as consistent as he wanted to be.
I'm forgetting who said this because there was also internal media day last week or 2 weeks ago. Last week, wow, this has been a long couple of weeks. I'm going to guess it's Ince, but he was suggesting that Cobb was overloaded last season with the scheme and had too many responsibilities.
And that absolutely can happen to where it makes you play slower. And this is like what we talked about with the in-helmet communication with when you put too much on your plate and it's not a knock on his preparation. It's not saying he wasn't prepared or he wasn't ready, but when you have and when you don't have all 11 or 10 guys next to you, you almost feel like you're trying to do more.
Yeah.
That absolutely, and that's a great point you brought that up, that it can slow you down and you don't play to your full potential because you're worried about other things and you're not just locked in on your assignment and playing fast and you don't have trust in everyone around you. So not to make excuses for him, I know he would be the first one to say there were times I missed tackles, I should have done better, but that's absolutely a great point. And I think this style of defense with Lynn's going to allow him to play a lot more free and a lot more fast.
Trojan Mom, a.k.a. your mother, said, what is our biggest trap game this year?
Birthday, by the way.
Wow.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Birthday.
Yeah, she's probably
just in time.
They're definitely going to watch this, so shout out, happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
She said, what's our biggest trap game this year? Can you even label a game a trap game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think right now no knock on them, but it's got to be Utah State.
Okay, that's
especially
fair.
With the rankings coming out, right? You play 13 LSU in Vegas.
And then
Michigan is
the sandwich
on the horizon.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Again, Big Ten opener at the Big House, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but in between that, you've got to play Utah State at home, which not saying you got to, but that's a team that's not a conference game. It's not a team that's ranked. It's it's one of those games where it's LSU, Michigan. Oh my gosh, those are two huge games.
Yeah.
But in between that, you've got Utah State. So I think early on that we have a trap game right off the bat at week 2.
That's fair. Jonathan said, Cody, could you walk us through what a weekly weight room routine looks like in the fall season?
Yeah, so it would be, I'm going to go off college. So game day would be Saturday, right? You play Saturday. Sunday you'd come in and so we had a thing called the 24, which were like guys that were starters that played. You had mandatory recovery. So after Saturday, you would have to come in Sunday, get a massage, do ice and hot contrast tub. You would have to do, trainers would check you out. You'd have to, any little bumps and bruises you would have to come in and do that. Everyone else was still free from that. But then we would do, I think it was either Sark or Kiff, we would do a lift on Sunday, just a functional movement lift, right?
Okay.
Just to get everything out of you, kind of flow, loosen up all the sore muscles. Then Monday would be a full off day, right? Then Tuesday's your hard day. Tuesday would be a workout day where we would lift pretty heavy. Quarterback-wise, we would not lift a lot during the year. And Ivan Lewis was a guy that I worked with closely. Aaron Osmus was another guy who was here before. But Ivan Lewis, huge shout out to Ivan. I still talk to him this day. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal strength coach. He was so good with us. Never really did anything to hurt our shoulders. We did a lot of shoulder mobility, but a lot of the quarterback position lifting was to keep your arm loose through the year, right? To not allow wear and tear. We're not sitting there doing shoulder press or bench press like crazy, but we would still find ways to add size without sacrificing, having a sore arm or sore elbow throughout the year. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we would lift normally, and then for the other guys, they would get pretty heavy, right, throughout the year. You don't want to. That's the thing, is you don't want to lose gains during the season. You're going to, because you're doing a lot more practice wise, water weight, all of that. You're going to lose a little bit, but you don't want to lose all that hard work you put in the off season. So Wednesday would still be pretty heavy, full lift days. Thursday would be a little bit lighter, and then Friday, obviously, you did nothing. It was a walkthrough. So, yeah, it'd be Sunday would recovery plus kind of a get all the soreness out lift. Monday was off. Tuesday, Wednesday were pretty heavy lift days. Thursday was more functional movement, a little bit lighter, staying loose. Friday, no lift walkthrough. And then Saturday was obviously game day.
Okay.
So
good to know.
And I don't know how Wiley does it and all them do it here, but that's how it really was, I think, from Lewis. And that's pretty consistent with the NFL as well.
Sal said, why is USC being punished by the national media and LSU not? Same situation, same deal.
I'm guessing he's talking about ranking or maybe expectations. He probably asked this before rankings came out, so probably expectations for this game. I've seen a good amount of beat writers, of fans out there saying that this is LSU by 2 possessions. And again, I don't believe it at all, but I just think, to his point, there's still so many unknowns from this team. But LSU last year, I think they were, I know Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. I think they were only 9-4. It wasn't like they had a team that won the SEC championship or a team that and now they have Nussmeier coming in at quarterback who hasn't played a whole lot. So it's still a lot of question marks for them, but I think it's the old tale of the SEC bias a little bit. This is an LSU football team, a tough team, a really good team. Brian Kelly's the head coach. They've got all these expectations. People think that they're going to come in, and we lost Caleb Williams, but they've also lost the Heisman Trophy winner as well. But I don't really know. That's a great question. All I can say is we've got to either put up or shut up on September 1st, and that's when we're going to do all the talking. But, yeah, I think the game is going to be closer than what everybody's saying right now. And again, I'm optimistic, but, yeah, I don't know where all this hate's coming from.
Trojan Dad said, what do you expect to see out of the first game besides a victory?
A lot of questions answered. I'll have a better guess for you for the record for the year. But no, that's a great question. I talked to Lincoln about this last year on Trojans Live. I said, when you have these position battles outside of quarterback that maybe go into the season, how much more valuable is it for you as a coach to learn from an actual game film than like the right guard position? I wouldn't be surprised if Alani and Amos and maybe Micah and Gino, like if we see all of them, right? Now obviously if one gets hot, and we talked about continuity up front, they're not going to rotate that much, but I wouldn't be surprised to see, if it comes down to the two-headed battle, to see those guys split a little bit of time. And we've seen this before from last year with guys rotating an offensive line, with Pregnon, with Noah. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But at the end of the day, like it's a different evaluation on game day than it is for fall camp, right? It's a different when the lights are bright. Yeah. And as a head coach and as a coaching or as a position coach, you learn more about your players on Saturdays and Sundays than you do Monday through Friday. Now the hard work's put in Monday through Friday, but it's who can perform when the lights are bright. So I think the biggest takeaway will be, are these guys who we thought they were in fall camp on game days, or are there guys that we maybe need to reevaluate that are twos that can maybe take a starting spot?
How much does the evaluation strategy change or adjust given that the first game of the season is against an opponent like LSU versus like a Utah State?
Yeah, it's
but I would imagine for Utah State, you could do a rotation of like Alani and Amos, and like much more leeway than you would against an LSU. So
I think that there's, and I get what you're saying. And it's realistic. It's not no knock on Utah State, and
no, yeah.
But it's a real, like last year. I think was it San Jose State was our first game, where
my brain is already
Nevada. San Jose, I think it was San Jose State was our first game, but it allowed us and not in a negative way, but a lesser opponent, to where your point is you can rotate guys without worrying about giving up a lead or being comfortable getting a lead, and then allowing guys to rotate. When you play a top 15 ranked opponent in the first game, are you going to feel comfortable going to the twos, even the threes, to see what they can do? So I think it's going to be tough, and that's why they pay Lincoln and his coaching staff to make those decisions. But you want to obviously go into the game with the guys that have earned that job, who are the starters. Now, if they're not performing, you're not going to sit there and say this guy's a starter, and if he doesn't play well, whatever, we'll reevaluate in the next game. If there's a guy who's not making plays and not getting the job done, they will absolutely rotate during the game. And that goes for every position, right? You see quarterbacks, receiver, you see guys get benched all the time. And I hate the word bench, but that's the reality of our profession or our job. And college football is like a profession now, but you got to perform, or someone else is waiting in the reins to take over and take your job. So I wouldn't expect to see as much rotation against LSU, but if guys aren't performing, I wouldn't be surprised to see those twos or 1A, 1Bs get out pretty quickly, even in the first or second quarter.
Kind of in the same vein, USC fan 87 said, do you think there's a chance that we play both Miller and Jaden at QB against LSU?
And again, I'm only speaking from experience. I'm not Lincoln Riley. I'm not making the decisions. He knows what's best for this football team, but I've been in that position with Max Wittick. So
you had a half, right?
The first 2 games, we both split halves, right? First half, second half, first half, second half. Neither one of us separated. I played slightly better, and maybe I'm just I'm biased a little bit. But the third game is when, Kiff texted me and said, hey, your game. Or come into my office, we talked, said, this is your game. This is your shot, take it or leave it. So I went in there and it just felt different that week, right? I knew I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I knew this, no matter, he said, I don't care if we get blown out or you play, this is your game, right? And we're going to win, and felt confident against Boston College. And I went out and I think had 15 straight completions. And it was just, but that sense of confidence. So that's why, from personal experience, I'm against that. But sometimes it needs to be done to see, again, who's going to perform. And I would expect it to be more so of this is my starter. It just may be a little bit tighter leash than maybe Caleb Williams had from last year, or when you have a veteran 3 or 4 year starter, right? So I would expect one guy to be the guy going into the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the performance isn't there to see some rotation.
Now, we have multiple questions about the offense, and I might combine them, figuring this out as I'm saying this. Sacramento Pete said, I've never watched Riley at OU, and I've heard Moss will play more within his offense than when Caleb did. How would you describe Riley's offense when it's schemed up? And John said, will the offense be more balanced with Miller than relying on Caleb's athleticism?
Yeah, so this has always been like Lincoln Riley's the air raid coach, right? That's what it's called. It's the Mike Leach air raid. Lincoln has adapted from that, in my opinion. I played against Mike Leach, one of the late great coaches, one of the best offensive game minds that college football has ever seen, or football in general has ever seen. But they would throw the football. I mean, they would throw the football 60, 70 times a game. Right? I remember when we played Connor Halliday. I forgot who else was there at Washington State, but they would throw the football, right? Yeah. They weren't afraid to go out and say, hey, we're going to run it 5 times and throw it 70 and try to keep up. Lincoln is not that, right? He has adapted from that. It's a lot of the same schemes, right? You see a lot of those air raid tendencies, and what I mean by that is we're going to throw the football, we're going to throw it over your head, and we're going to have those big play abilities. But he's done a great job of using the running backs and the player. Like, think back to last year or 2 years ago. I think there were multiple games last year where Travis Dye had over 20 touches, right? And especially when the pass game wasn't there.
Travis Dye was 2 years ago. But
yeah, that's what I said 2 years ago.
Oh, sorry.
Or last year. That's a great point. Marshawn Lloyd, when we literally won the game because of him in the Cal game, right? We rode him until the game was done, until probably had the double ice packs on the knees and couldn't walk the next day. But those were the games where Lincoln is confident enough in his offensive line and his run game to where he's going to be a pro-style balanced offense. It's not just going to be get out there and throw the ball 70 times per game. And that's very tough as a quarterback to have that on your plate, to not have a solid run game, right? I think it's so important, and I think Lincoln understands that. And I think that's why he hired a guy like Josh Henson to come in and be the quote-unquote offensive coordinator who's in charge of the run game and really does a great job with the offensive line. But scheme-wise overall, it is a pro-style offense that can throw it a bunch if needed, right? I wouldn't say it's quite an air raid, run and gun, throw it, and some games may need to be that, but I think when we go to the Big Ten, it's going to be a lot more pro-style. You're going to have a powerful run game to keep up, and we have some good running backs coming into this year. We have some young guys. This is going back to the question of some not under the radar guys, but guys that haven't been talking. You have Quentin Joyner, Amarian Peterson, and then you have Woody Marks as well. And you have guys that can come in and make an impact. And I think our run game can be very good this year.
And to your point, if you look at the stats, USC's had close to at least one rusher, close to that 1,000-yard mark each season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the misconception about Lincoln Riley's offense is going back to like the Patrick Mahomes Baker Mayfield game, right? The games to where they can't, to where I think games Caleb had over 400 yards passing, like to games that you have shootouts, and I think that's a little bit going against the defenses that Lincoln has had before about having to keep up with an opponent. You have to keep up with, or you have to be able to put up points if you know that you're not going to be able to stop anybody, right? Or if you're not going to be able to get those stops when needed. But he's always had good running backs, right? We've had Marshawn Lloyd wouldn't have came here and been a third-round pick, and I think is going to have a great year this year if he didn't expect to get the football and know that it's a balanced scheme, right? Travis Dye, who was at a great spot in Oregon, isn't going to come here if he doesn't expect to have a big role on the side. Samaje Perine, another guy at Oklahoma, was a big dominant back for them, right? He has year in and year out players that keep it balanced, right? So I love that question about, hey, what is this scheme that Lincoln really runs? And if you ask someone who just maybe knows a little bit about Lincoln Riley, they would say air raid, run and gun, he's going to throw the ball until the wheels fall off. That's just not true. We have seen the last couple of years, even with Caleb Williams, how balanced this team can be, and it is turning more into a pro-style West Coast in parentheses air raid type of offense. It's just that's how football is nowadays. Though the day and age is you're going to see a lot of copycat, a lot of combination, a lot of stuff you've seen for years back to Tampa Bay and the West Coast and John Gruden and all that. Now into the Mike Leach, the air raid, and then combining the two is a lot of fun to watch. And I could talk about this all day if you can't tell, but I love the way that Lincoln Riley has really had a balanced attack. And like you said, almost last 3 years, guys above 800 yards, 900 yards to keep that in the run game.
Well, you can nerd out a little bit more. Jonathan wanted to know, how does our offense different? How is it different from the regular Big Ten offenses like Iowa or Illinois?
The biggest thing is personnel. We're not going to, who knows? We may this year. Lincoln may have some stuff up his sleeve, but we're not going to go into 3 tight end personnel groupings a whole lot, right? You're not going to see that a ton. You're going to see a lot more spread type of formations. So that's the biggest difference for me. Play style, again, at the end of the day, you're going to see play action. You're going to see the tight end use. I love the action that some of our tight ends got in the spring game. So I think we're going to see more of that. But you're just not going to see the same personnels unless we're in goal line. But even then, like how many times last year did you see us bring 3 tight ends on the field? I mean, there was a couple times maybe here and there with Jude Wolfe and Lake McCree. And
yeah.
But outside of that, the Big Ten, you're going to see that pretty consistency, right? Even double tight end formations, that's their base offense with Iowa, with Michigan. I mean, last year, Michigan against Penn State, I don't think they threw the football in the second half. And they didn't get it. I don't think they got an 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers, right? So that's the biggest difference for me. It's just, are we going to adjust to that? Are we going to try to play to their style as well and see some more double tight end or 3 tight end formations? Or are we going to stick to our DNA and force the defense to adjust, which was
I feel like you would have an advantage there, no?
Yeah, I would definitely be leaning more towards that way. But who knows? We may come out and make a statement and go 3 tight ends against Michigan in the big house on the first play of the game and let Woody Marks or Quentin Joyner run downhill and go power run right at your face. So
you heard it here, folks.
Lincoln loves pulling guard tackle as well. So
for sure.
He's not afraid for that power run scheme. We just do it out of a spread more so than you see out of a 2 tight end formation.
Which I thought was interesting because randomly.
And we don't use fullbacks, by the way. That's the other.
Well, that's,
all those teams do use fullbacks.
Who was the last one? Soma Vanuku?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think or Jaleel Pinner, I think.
Okay.
That I played with.
Yeah.
After that, I'm not sure. But that was the last fullback I think we've ever seen here.
Wow. Random point I was going to make during that. Sorry, I was almost cutting you off there. Riley said it's interesting having Jonah at center because Jonah is naturally very good at pulling.
Yeah.
And so that gives you more opportunity with him at center.
Well, that's why, and that's what's the kind of outlier there is normally, and Henson was talking about this, or he didn't say this specifically, but this is where my mind went to as a football player was normally your tackles are your athletes, right? And that's why he talked about can Mason Murphy, if something happened to Elijah Page, that's where, the question marks came in about rotation continuity. But normally your tackles are your more athletic guys that can pull, guys that can move. Your guards are your more bulky, physical, powerful, having to stop an Antoine Woods, having to stop a Bear Alexander, a little more girth to him on the interior. But when you have a guy like Jonah Monheim and another guy that I play with, Max Turk, that they're so versatile on the offensive side of the ball that you can put them at tackle, then they move the guard, then they play center. It allows you to be a little bit more, mechanical or a little bit more scheme-wise for Lincoln. I don't know what I'm looking for here, but versatile, I guess. But you can pull a center instead of just going guard tackle. You can go screen.
You have more options.
You can run a screen to the left and have Jonah, knock block and then get outside and go lead outside. You can do different things that'll confuse these different fronts they're going to see. So that's exciting when you have athletes on the inside as well.
We got a question from IG or LG CWD. He said, "Who's the wide receiver 1 in your opinion?"
I would say wide receiver 1 right now, just based off last year, is Deuce Robinson. I would say Zachariah's up there, but he was a wide receiver, but he wasn't a wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you were the one saying that from the beginning,
too.
Yeah,
he was. And again, I go back to the Notre Dame game when we went spread, no tight end, 4 wide, Zachariah in the backfield, and just turn and hand it to him. Like, he played running back at times. Let it just be a kickoff, 5-on-5 on the inside. There were times at slot, the end arounds, the fake reverse, the screen. So I'm not going to put him as, not saying handcuff him, but I'm not going to say he's strictly a wide receiver. I'm going to say he's you see the ATH, he's an athlete on the offense. He can do it all. So strictly wide receiver 1 going into this year, I would say, you can make an argument for Kyle Ford and Kyron Hudson because they're the veteran players, but I really see Deuce Robinson and the production that he's had so far in the spring and fall stepping into that wide receiver 1 role. I feel like it's his job to lose as that premier playmaker on the outside. Yeah,
I agree. Tyler said, "I love Miller's dedication to the program. How confident are you guys feeling about him?"
I feel great. I really do. I've had question marks. I've had, and you always will because you don't see a whole lot of the guy, but he answered a lot of those in the spring game. I loved, or not in the spring game, in the bowl game. And I got to do a little film breakdown for him on the Trojan tailgate at the pregame for the spring football game. But he showed you what you needed to see. Right now, obviously, he's got to continue to do that. And we talked about what does that look like. It's just consistency now, right? Was it a one-time thing, or is he going to be able to do this every Saturday? And for me, that's the biggest question mark right now. But he's checking all the boxes. He's doing all the right things. Sounds like he's doing a great job in this quarterback competition. But going back to the spring game last year, and if you watch the film, my biggest thing from him was, it started off slow. Then he got into a rhythm, and it's so tough when you're in a rhythm, when you break that rhythm, to find it again, right? He was in that rhythm, and then he threw that red zone interception. And I looked at him. I was sitting with Matt Leinart and Barry Sanders, which is
what a
crazy name pull right there. But we were doing that promotion thing for DirecTV. But wow. I'm sitting in a booth with Barry next to me and Matt behind me, and we're talking, and he throws a pick. And I remember looking at Leinart, and I said, now we're going to find out about Miller, right? So he threw 2 touchdowns, was blowing the roof off the place. It felt great. But then he throws that red zone pick that would have changed the score. Louisville goes down and scores a touchdown. They take the lead or tie it up. Now, I said this next drive is going to tell us what we need to know about Miller Moss. He leads I think a 6-play, 70-yard drive, goes down, throws a touchdown to Jacoby Lane in the back of the end zone. And I said, okay, this kid can do it. And I do. I feel great. I feel confident about him. I mean, in my opinion, he's the guy until he's not, right? This competition is going to go back and forth. I still see it as a 2-quarterback competition, but you've got to think Miller's the leader in the clubhouse. He's a guy that it's his job to lose.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. They're off-topic ones, and then we're wrapping this puppy up. Steve said, what are each of your favorite Olympic events? I'm so sad that the Olympics are over now. It was such a constant while I was doing stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really watch the Olympics a whole lot.
Where's your patriotism?
I know. Well, I'll tell you what. I did watch golf. That's my answer.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, USA. Scotty Scheffler won USA.
Boo.
Red, white, and blue, baby.
Boring.
It was not boring. It was at Le Golf National in Paris, which is... or I don't think it's in Paris. I think it's just outside.
Diving, you have volleyball, you have so many stuff, and you're just golf.
My wife loves gymnastics, so she watched all those. Yes. So I'd peek in here and there. But
okay.
I didn't.
What about Steve? Special Steve with the glasses?
Who's
Pommel
that?
Horse?
No.
Oh my gosh. Emily, do you know what I'm talking about? Thank you. Of course
Who
you
is
do. You missed it.
Okay.
The hype.
All I know is Scotty Scheffler won gold medal, and let's go, Scotty.
My goodness.
I don't. Well, it's also it's tough too. The time difference, you can
watch it live. You can watch it in prime time.
Yeah.
Come on.
True. Okay. Well, yeah, I did watch Scotty Scheffler win gold, and I stood up for the national anthem when they played at the end. So, and I cried with them. I didn't really, but.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay. I would say beach volleyball or volleyball in general. Okay. Swimming. I love swimming. I love track too.
I will say we had a lot of Trojans.
We did.
And I saw. Sarah and
Kelly.
Yeah, in there. I know they didn't get to the
so
quarterfinals.
I know. I was stressed.
They're an amazing duo, but yeah, it was. I did see updates. I will say that I didn't watch live a whole lot of it.
That's okay.
I'll say that.
You're not a true American. It's fine. No,
stop.
I'm kidding.
I did stand up with Sky though when he won. I just didn't cry with him.
Okay.
So that counts for something.
My slander to Cody does not apply to anyone.
Yeah, no, we've known each other for 3 years now, so I promise.
Well, yeah, I've known you actually for longer, but you didn't acknowledge me back then. But
that was when you were doing
Yes.
24/7 or something though.
Yes,
so
it's okay.
You were
blocked
media.
me.
I didn't like you.
No, but my slander towards Cody, if you didn't watch the Olympics as a listener, that's fine. I don't hate you. It's just for him. Don't worry.
Hey, if you didn't watch the Olympics, let's go.
No.
I need some hate tweets toward Keely. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Let's see if you block some people.
No. I mute. I don't block. Don't want to give that satisfaction. Okay, final question from that Daddy Manny and Jimmy as well. They said, welcome back. What did you do this summer, and how was the summer for the both of you?
My summer was good. I spent a lot of family time, which was nice. Worked out a lot. I got addicted to fitness, so that was nice.
Big gains as well. You were part of the weight.
I was a part of the weight room. I put on about 30 pounds of muscle, so that was good. It wasn't accidental. Put on 30 pounds.
When you had your call last night to me, when you were like, I have a mustache, you were also like, by the way, I've gained 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And my follow-up was muscle or fat?
Yeah, I was like, muscle. No, I've been doing it the right way. But yeah, no, I've been working out, being a family man. We traveled a little bit.
Nice.
Didn't go to Bakersfield as much as we wanted to, but we did see families come down here and visit us.
Nice.
But yeah, that was pretty much it. Me and my wife are both and our dog, we're just homebodies. We'll take him to the beach to go walk and we love it, but we're not big. I mean, we both adventurous, but we're homebodies. I love just as much sitting on the couch. We did go to the OC Fair.
Fun.
Last week, so that was cool.
Okay.
My
Did
wife,
you ride the rides?
Yeah, she wanted to go get. They have those. No, we didn't ride any rides.
Okay.
But
those are a little scary.
they have those cinnamon rolls from Pismo Beach, which we used to go to when we were kids. So that was cool. But outside of that, yeah, I grew a mustache and long hair and
You're like
worked
the
out a
summer
lot.
vibes.
That was about, and golfed a lot. I golfed a ton. So
Okay.
that was
Very
about it.
nice. I feel like my summer is down to 3 things.
You traveled too, though.
I did. So my sister got married.
Yeah.
I was the maid of
Ooh.
honor, and it was the first wedding I've ever been in. So that was like a lot
Wow.
to handle. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I traveled for
Okay.
like 2 weeks, which was super fun. And then it was like I came back from traveling, and it was Olympic features.
Where'd you go?
Nonstop. So I went on a Scandinavian cruise. Fun
Okay.
fact. So we went to Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Estonia, and somewhere else that I'm forgetting.
Wow.
Yeah, multiple stops. Yeah, it was
What was
crazy.
your favorite?
That's hard.
No hate to the other
I
countries.
know. I don't know. So what's funny?
Where would you go back if someone said you got to go back to it right now? Out of those,
I don't know.
really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. Then that means they were all pretty fun.
Denmark was really cool across the
Okay.
board, I guess.
Okay,
I
well,
don't
that's what
know.
you said first, so I'm going. That's your
Sure.
answer.
That's my answer.
Yeah.
There we go. But yeah, it was crazy because I came back from traveling. It was like, okay, we have all these Olympic features to do because so many Trojans were in the Olympics. And then all of a sudden I look up and it's football season. So to me, it was just like, it came.
It really
by
is. It was so
fast.
funny when the Hall of Fame game came on too. I was like, my wife, she walked in, she's like, "What is this?" I was like, "She's like, is this recorded?" I'm like, "No, it's the Hall of Fame." Like,
No, we're here.
There's for the next until February, the end of February, we've got football every single weekend.
No, it's wild.
Which, in my opinion, is the best time of the year. I love fall football
Yeah.
season. Just
Pumpkins.
yeah, pumpkins, love them. That's what I was
It's
going to
true,
say.
though.
That's what I was going to say next.
I
but
knew
yeah,
you
no.
were.
But with that saying, or with that being said, I'm USC football's back. We've got one more episode.
Very excited.
And then
we have a couple.
Well, I'm saying one more, and then we go. When's our preview? So we'll do probably 2 more than the preview. Then we'll be in the game week, right?
I don't want to make any promises because we haven't come through. So
Well,
we
all I
will
know
be making episodes.
No, we will
That I
absolutely be making
promise that.
episodes, and we will be. And also, I'll be a little shout out. I'll be doing all Trojans live on Monday nights. Keely does that as well as
Yeah,
the round
very
table.
excited.
And then I'll do every single Trojan tailgate, home and away now. And then I will
A lot more Cody
do-
this season.
Yeah, and then we do podcasts every week. So
Yeah, excited.
it'll be fun. With that being said, I'm done. This episode probably went a little longer than we wanted it to,
We
but
joked about it being 2 hours, and it probably will be 2 hours.
but with that being said, we have been gone.
Yes,
we just
that's
made
true.
up for about 3 or 4 months of
That's fair.
podcasts.
That is very fair.
But miss you guys. Excited for USC football. Cannot wait. So much fun. This is my now kind of 2.5 years. A little trial
I
the
know.
first years. This is probably
Crazy.
my 2.5 years being around the program. Love being back. And again, everything happened around USC football. If you're a fan, if you bleed Cardinal and gold, it's time to get excited. And this is, again, probably the biggest year that we're going to see in recent memory for USC football. So
Yeah.
love you guys. Fight on. Good to be back. And I am out.
Alrighty, the man wrapped it up pretty well. Excited to be back. Excited to be covering football. Really happy to see Emily, our intern, and Cody back in the studio. We'll be back, and we have more fall camp to talk about, so we'll see you then. But for Cody, I'm Keely. We'll see y'all next time.